Beats Within. We're here. We're back, obviously, because the episode's going. We're here with Nack, who is a Austin hip hop staple, a global phenomenon. He's a DJ champ. He's a champ. We're here with a champion. We brought you a champion. That's right. He's here. It's royalty in the house. When I started breakdancing, and I needed more hip hop, and I knew that Austin was the place to be. And you definitely were one of those things. I was like, they've got turntables down there. They have like hip hop hump days. You know, they have like Mecca. Like they have all these things. And so I packed up my little bags and I came all the way to Austin. I couch surfed before I got here. You know, saving up money. I got into a weird apartment in the parking lot of Fiesta on 38 and a half.
38th,
Yep.
yeah.
I lived in that little apartment, and you know, this is like where I wanted to be, and like you were part of that culture, so thank you.
Oh wow. What
yeah,
a nice
yeah, for
introduction.
sure.
Thank you for such a kind. Wow.
The night that there was at Old Emo's 2, right, the annex, where I believe you were performing.
Holy cow!
Tatsu
Yeah, Romeo.
was performing.
Yeah, Romeo. That was the King of Scratch.
Yeah.
Like offshoot of B-Boy City. Mm-hmm. I think if you're talking about that.
It was
yeah,
because
wow.
you were doing that night, and I think Tatsu's doing that night.
Yeah.
And then
We
I
battled,
was in the
yeah.
back with Curly, with Sarah, and we were sitting in the bleachers in the
Yeah,
back.
You know what's so crazy about Tots? I went to a so La Di Da used to hold these scratch Texas Scratch League, and
Yeah.
one day we were like a bunch of us nerds. Dopez from San Antonio, shout out Dopez, and Tots was there, and Gary Clark Jr. just shows
Wow.
up to a scratch session. I mean, I'm talking like we're like nerding out.
Yeah,
and
totally.
I'm like, dude, what's up, man? What are you doing here? And he was such a big fan of Tots. As a DJ,
Yeah.
he would come out on Saturday. I don't know if you ever remember seeing him at Plush.
No.
Like, fucking Gary Clark Jr., dude.
When did you get to Austin?
Ah, man, I went to UT. So
Okay.
I moved here.
Where'd you get your degree in, if you don't mind me just kind
Yeah,
of
sure. In radio, television, and film.
Dope.
Yeah.
So,
So I actually struggled with that. It's a pretty funny story. So I came here in 95.
okay.
And actually this neighborhood where we live now, I lived in the apartments over here in this apartment complex called Canyon Oaks. And my first, so I had to do a lot of math and a lot of science.
Hate it.
And computer programming. And so my first class, I just was doing horrible. The Pascal was the programming language.
Right.
And like I remember I was going to get I think a C, and my parents had this agreement with me, like if you do, I can't remember what the GPA was. If you do above a 3.5 or something like that, then we will let you move off campus and go into the apartments I eventually. Well, so you know the end of the story because I ended up moving over there. The funny part is I was like, man, I'm going to get a C, so I need to get, or rather, I was going to get a B, so I need to get an A. There was this extra credit program where I had to like animate a bird flying across a thing, and I thought, man, there's no way. There's no way. I'm not going to be able to do this. At that time, they had the dot matrix printers where you pull the little shit off the side.
Jesus.
And I went to the computer lab, and there was this dude that was, I mean, back then, we didn't have computers in our dorms, and I think it just started maybe a couple years after that, but we used to go to the computer lab, and there was a TA that was in the middle of the room, and you'd go sign in and you'd get credentials to log in. And I was working on this thing, and I'm like, man, there's no freaking way I'm gonna be able to animate a bird flying across a static background. Like, no way. So I hear this guy next to me, and it's like midnight, and he's typing away, and I hear that he's like, yes, that's it. And he gets up, and I hear the printer going, gink, gink, gink. And I hear the TA like rip it off, and they have a little thing to set it in, the printed code. And I'm like, fuck this shit, man. And I went over there and grabbed the shit, and I took it back and like photocopied his whole entire program. And then I brought it back.
Oh, wow.
And
Good Samaritan.
so fast forward to like, with these kind of classes, we had a once a week, I think it was like, you know, you'd have the smaller classes, and then the once a week with like the dean of computer science, right? With like 300 kids. Like a couple weeks go by, and she gets up and she's like, so the bonus exam the results have come in, and it turns out that, you know, like 25% of y'all have cheated and almost have the identical code. And I'm like, and it emanated from me. And so they're like, we're gonna reach out to each of y'all. So I got called into the dean of the College of Engineering, and she goes, all right, so do you want to get kicked out of UT or do you want to take a drop in a letter grade? And I'm like, what the fuck do you think? You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, it was I had to take summer school to get A's to be able, anyways.
It reminds me too, like, of a couple things, right? Because fuck 95 computers. Like, I remember taking like a typing class, whatever, in high school, and like, we're learning 10 key, which you don't even have on the keyboard anymore. And I remember like thinking, I was like, I know the next year, I graduated in 98, like I was like, the next year they're gonna have the higher advanced level of computers. This is obsolete.
Right.
You know, again, like I was always, I thought I was a fucking idiot until like 2 years ago. Now I'm like, bitch, you were on it. But like, I was like, you know, you're like, fuck, I'm gonna learn this shit, but you're also like, this isn't like, you know what I mean? Like, why am I learning this? It's gonna like, education's always changing.
Right.
It's gonna be obsolete. Why am I spending money so you can like, even that's just my rebellious way to say that I'm not going to go to college. But also 95, right? Like, I remember skipping school and coming up here in 95 and being like, I'm moving here. Like,
you know what, here's what did it for me when, we were going to a couple different schools, my parents and I, so UT was one that, I'm not sure if I got accepted to or applied to, and we were doing the tour thing.
Yeah.
And they took us through, and we went through, I think it was a female dorm. So Jester, so 21st and Speedway.
Yeah.
And there's Gregory Gymnasium, and then right behind Gregory is Kinsolving. I don't remember the exact dorm, but we're walking through, and the guy's like, oh, it's blah, blah, and here's KVRX, the student radio station. And I was like, and when I'm in a group of people, I'm like, rewind, let's go in here. And they had the mail bins, you know, like those hard plastic things that you seal at the post office. Yo, there was a stack of records. And I go, and it had a sign that said, free, take whatever. No. And I'm like on this tour, and the people walking off, and I'm digging through, and I see Biggie, 10 Crack Commandments. I'm like, what the fuck?
Oh my God.
I'm like, yo, there's no hip hop DJs here. What the fuck? And there was a hip hop show. Shout out to Les and Carrie, the House of Fat Beats. It was on Thursdays from, what was it, 11 to 1 maybe? That was the very beginning that was like how you describe Plush. But for me, this was like 95, 96. And it was like the most incredible. I met TeeDouble, Bavu.
Wow.
Like a lot of sort of core people to the scene. Romeo, you know what I mean? Like that's where we met. La Di Da. I could go on and on. X-Man, but they weren't DJing. They were just playing records. And so I thought, well, I'm about to DJ. So like maybe a year or so later, that's kind of how that happened. I was just persistent, you know what I mean? Like.
So that brings me a question. Two things. One is that, you know, Jester dorms, B-boys still practice. They practice there. That's where they practice every Wednesday, if not a little bit more. Yeah. And that floor is so hard. So like when you go into the upstairs, there's like there's two spaces that are big enough. There's one they're by the cafeteria.
Yes.
And what day is this? There's probably some there right now. Like, after we used to practice in the dance room that was down.
I used to DJ, and when they much later made, what's the art museum that's there right across?
Blanton?
When they came out with Blanton, the B-boys would be...
The Blanton Summer Series? Yeah. I went and danced at some of those.
I remember seeing Romeo and them coming from Jester to come check me out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where are y'all coming from?
We do Jester now, but before that it was in a little dance room. We actually were able to get a dance room with nice wood floors. And then you had to have a person that was going to UT to sponsor us.
We did a thing like that with, there was a cat, Manila Ice, Filipino cat. Yo, shout out Manila Ice. He went to UT with me, and he was a super scratch nerd, and he's like, yo, he did the same shit. He would rent out the math building.
Sick.
And like later, and it'd be like, we're doing tutoring, and we would all show up with turntables and just be like cutting it up, like super nerd style. I remember one time we found a TI-85 calculator, and we were like, yo, want to come up? Those things are like little computers.
Totally remember that.
I mean, maybe a little bit before your time, but like
no, it was in high school. You're right. Yeah. You had to get like that was the thing. You're like, well, if you're gonna be in it, you have to get this expensive ass calculator.
Yeah.
Again,
I remember we found one in one of those scratch sessions, and I think I have it.
Gold.
So I was like,
wow.
I'm gonna take this.
I wonder how much that's worth now. Let's look it up after this. So you're getting records like when you're about to. When did you start collecting records?
I remember going to the bus stop, and there was this kid, Josh Kirk. 0.5, because he was kind of short, we call him 0.5. Shout out 0.5, an amazing artist. And I went to go to the bus stop, and he was always jamming out, just like, and he was from Pittsburgh.
Oh shit.
So I was like, man, what are you listening to, you know? And he was like, man, I'm jamming out to Public Enemy, or I'm jamming out to he put me onto third bass and the Cactus album, and I was like,
Yeah.
yo, this shit is bananas, man. What is this? And this was like 88, 89.
Yeah.
I mean, and I had heard like, you know, Eazy-E and stuff like that a couple years earlier, right? And NWA, and obviously like 2 Live Crew was like, you know, all over the place. But he was the one that got me really, really into like listening. So we would like exchange and we would nerd out, and I heard like turntablism for the first time. That was like insane. And I'm like, what is that? And so that got me into DJing because I wanted to mimic that sound. And at the time, you know, there wasn't YouTube, there wasn't really anything. So there was Rap City and MTV Raps.
And Juice. Which has the movie Juice where Q ends up scratching
and it's super fake, right?
Yeah,
you watch that now. It's
that
like,
was the first thing I was like, wait,
all.
hang on, you can spin around and do tricks? Like,
I mean, dude, I remember watching Black Sheep and Mr. Long, the DJ. He had like a fucking laser disc in one of the videos, and I remember being like, is that what they scratch with? Like, I didn't even know, you know what I mean? And
could you scratch with a laser disc?
No,
that was just fake shit?
That was just like some fucking video shit, but like...
That's funny.
I don't even remember what song that was, but like EPMD Gold Digger, you know what I mean? Like where DJ Scratch was getting down, like... Like those kind of... I lived for that shit, and so I used to like pop into VHS tape, get home from school,
of course,
right? And then like put on Rap City. And then I'd like Prince de Jour or like Big Les... God, who else was the host? Anyways, I'd record the shit, and I still have the tapes. I would hand write out like CEB, Get the Point, or, you know, Fushnikins, blah, 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 La Schmoove, or like all this shit, you know what I mean? And I'd have all this shit, and I'd go back and rewind it and be like, man, how is he DJing? And coming across, you know, the DMC tapes, that was like a whole other thing. But
the DMC tapes.
Yeah. So it was like a combination of rap videos and like, you know what I mean, hearing scratching, and then like DMC videos, and they got me into DJing.
Right.
You know.
What were you listening to before the Pittsburgh .5 showed you that? You mentioned, you know, like the West Coast, you know, like, you know, we're looking at...
That's a good one. Man, I went through a phase of being into like... I remember I had Metallica, Kill 'Em All. It was like whatever my friend's older brother was into. Like that's always how it's like, what are you listening to? I'm listening to Megadeth. It's like, what's that, like, man? Holy shit,
same,
you know?
Me too then.
Like some new wave stuff for sure.
Definitely, for sure,
Again, like when I was in, I guess I was in elementary school maybe when that, so whatever, the older brother might be in like middle school. So, and that would have been like mid 80s maybe. So like whatever, you know, was kind of underground and pop at that time. Some of it was rap, but I mean, it was like 2 Live Crew. Hey man, come and listen to this dirty song. Like, Or like, come and look at the Playboys, and, you know, be that kind of shit. Mom and Dad are gonna smoke some weed and fucking look at Playboys. And listen to 2 Live Crew, you know what I mean?
But, I remember like my cousin putting a headset. I was like, what are you listening to? And like, I had 2 cousins that were like helping us move from California to Texas. And one was listening to Metallica, and then the other one was listening to the fucking Ghetto Boys. And he put the fucking headset on me, and I like... And I still think about like the lyrics that I heard that moment that flipped my little brain. I was like, what is this?
Which album? Do you know what Ghetto Boys album
I don't remember which album it was, but I remember like he was talking about having sex with this chick, grabs a chainsaw and hacks her titties off. And that was like the fucking thing that I recalled. And I was like, what the fuck is this right now? It's like, it was horrorcore, right? Like in the mid 90s, which was like, you know, synonymous with like golden era, then you move on
like
to like
Grave
from
Diggers
there.
and like
I bought a Grave Diggers coach jacket that I'm dying to wear out. My friend had, I saw it on, my friend had, he posted a photo of him and he had a long sleeve Grave Diggers shirt, and I was like, I'm gonna get the same one. Where is it? Like, he's in Chicago, and he like sent me the link, and I was like. And so I was like, I wanted to get the same long sleeve, but I got the Coach's 1-800-SUICIDE jacket.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's so sick.
Suicide is a suicide.
So you're getting into DJing. Did you have a setup like when you were...
You know what's funny? You'll get a kick out of this. The first gig I ever had was at a quinceañera.
Of course. Of course.
And I mostly played the music on a CD player and then scratched on a turntable. Like, it was the weirdest shit ever. By the way, side note, shout out to my dad. He took me to a Lowrider magazine, and I think we were the only 2 white people.
Like, what do I
we were the only 2 white people. This was in like '91, and my dad's like, you know, he's like the good dad, because I was like, he's like, what do you want for your first car? I'm like, I want a '63 Impala, maybe a '64, and he's like, and I had all these models, and he's like, all right, let's go to Dallas Convention Center and check out the Lowrider show.
Yeah.
And they had mini trucks with the beds dancing and stuff.
Love
and
it. Yeah.
A lighter shade of brown was playing, and
Fucking sick.
you know what I mean? Like it was like that whole thing. And I don't know where I'm going with this story, but
well, you was your DJ. You were a quinceañera. You were doing it first. Yeah.
Quinceañera. So I because of that like Lowrider culture, I was into that actually, like a little bit before I met Point Five, and just into the car culture, like into. And I guess maybe it was about the same time, actually, to be honest with you, because first of all, I have a horrible memory, but I think it was actually around the same time. I got into because I had some friends, again, older brother thing, and they had cars, and we would get like DJ Magic Mike, and I'd hear the scratching and then the bass, and it was like holy shit.
The bass.
Dude.
Nice 808 fucking Miami bass like influence. I mean, we're living like through the I-10 also, so we're getting all of that, right?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I don't know how far that went up. I don't know if East Coast was super into that, but I know that like we were, and like hearing the 808 cowbell and like all of that. Like I was like when I finally recognized how much of a music fan I was, and like going back listening to like Timmy T. Oh, and like that's all acid, right? Like that's all acid breaks too. So I'm like, oh, I've always liked this shit.
Dude, like the whole like Miami sound was like super influential, I think, especially on Texas, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you think also the Bay Area, right? Like Too Short.
Yeah.
A lot of that was like car culture stuff too.
Totally.
I think it was like the collision of all those things. But at any rate, my first gig was actually at in middle school. This chick was like, she found I was doing like mixtapes and shit in school, and she's like, hey, do you want to DJ my quinceañera? And I'm like, what does it mean? And I don't know what that means. And she's like, well, come out. And so I go out, and my dad drives, me, I can't even drive yet. And we take all my equipment, and I had the speaker box with, Radio Shack 12 inches and like a receiver and like a little turntable. And we go, and he helps me set everything up. And he's like, all right, I'll see you later. I'll come back and pick you up. And like, we're drinking beer. It was in a fucking barn.
Of course.
Literally a fucking barn. And like somebody's uncle like kicked a hole in my speaker. And I think so. My first early gigs were like house parties in high school, because like that solidified me as like,
that's cool.
Yo, he fucking killed it. And even though mostly I just like scratched records, and like nobody was really. I mean, how
are you learning how to scratch?
The older cats are probably like the uncles, and probably like, what the fuck is this white kid scratching over? Shut the fuck up, man.
Play some Bobby Pulido. Like,
I don't know what I mean?
And
I was playing like Back to the Hotel, like In Too Deep and shit, and like scratching over the shit. They're like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. How are you learning though? Like, so there's no videos. You're just listening. Damn.
Well, in like Rap City and like the DMC videos.
Right.
That was a little bit later, because I didn't even know those existed until I found Bill's Records and Tapes and Spin Masters. Mostly Spin Masters, which was shout out to Who Man. It was a Dallas DJ store. I was one half co-founder of HipHop Mecca, and I guess that's maybe for later. It has to do with KVRX, how that started. But I kind of focused on being the house DJ, and so and booking the opening acts. Mm-hmm. And we did a show with Mixmaster Mike and MOP. And by the way, I went to go get a drop from MOP. That was like the scariest shit ever. I'm like, hey, can I get a drop from you guys? And I had my little micro cassette recorder.
Yo.
Billy Dan's is like, yo, who the fuck are you? Actually, this chick walks up, like, I thought it was a dude. She's like, yo, who the fuck? That was who said that. Who the fuck are you? And I'm like, oh man, I'm like, this
I would
is
like
my
a drop,
shit.
please.
I'm like, I just want to get a drop from my mixtape. And she's like, yo, Fame, you want to give this fucking dude a drop or whatever? And he's like, so I have a drop from them, and it's actually dope, but it was terrifying, man. I was like, yo, these motherfuckers are nuts, man.
That's fucking.
But it was Mixmaster Mike with info.
Oh shit.
And Mixmaster Mike went on afterwards on my gear, and then MOP played. And the craziest shit. So, shout out to Info, who's honestly one of the dopest fucking turntablists ever
so
to
good.
touch.
Sweet dude.
Yeah. So, like, I always love to see cats like Hubert and Mike when they first hear Info. Mm-hmm. And so so I'm cutting, and I'm like, whatever. And they're like, oh, cool. And then they see Info, and they're like,
the fuck is
holy
this dude?
Fuck. Dude, during the show, there's video of it. So my Doug Mecca sent me the video of us, and Mike, he shouts out me, and when he's shouting me out, he's like, I'm standing next to Info, and he's doing that famous Natural Born Killers
Oh my God, yeah.
And he's like doing it, and he's looking right at info. He's like, like I was like,
Oh,
yo,
shit,
I look
like
at info,
beefing?
I'm
He's like, you could do
yo,
this, yeah.
he's like fucking with you, bro. Like,
Wow.
fuck, man. Like it was
What an honor. That's
at
an
Electric
honor.
Lounge.
Wow.
Shout
oh,
out,
shit.
shout out Mike Henry, man.
I mean, obviously, you've seen Scratch, one of the best documentaries. Still holds,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Two things from that actually is that one, watching like it was like Grand Wizard Theodore?
Yeah.
And he's like almost every DJ in there says, I heard it, and I was like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah,
I need
yeah.
to do that. So it like drives certain people, right? But the other like just a tidbit from that also is that I'm on TikTok, and like I was like, there's this woman who does like, she tracks solar flares, and she's like,
Oh, wow.
we had a solar flare, so you're ascending to the next level, and your spirit may be feeling like it's healing, and you might have a headache. And she goes through all this like stuff, but then she goes, I had a vision of like this octopus entity floating through space, and I was like, Invisible Scratch Pickles called this in 1998 with
Yeah.
Wave Twisters, you know what I mean? I was like, that's weird that you like saw that, because they also saw that as well. It was a very heavy like alien entity type of like,
Wow, man! Shout out to Qbert. That
right,
dude. Like honestly, I don't even know where to begin with. Well, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, tell me, because that's where we're going. Like, that's the influential part. I mean, when Invisible Scratch Pickles, like, we're looking at DJ and happening, I mean, from the inception of hip hop.
Matter of fact, like, while you're talking,
Please continue,
like,
yeah.
This record right here, which Qbert is on this record, so Dr. Octagon with Qbert
yes.
on the cuts, man.
Yep.
Alien
Yes.
Records, shout out to
Yep.
that.
Alien Records, you've heard
and
about that.
I thought this was
$5.99 also, wow, great
I
price.
thought this was what's his name, Puss or what, I forget what his name is, that does like these kind of drawings, but it's not. It says Germ, but incredible art as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, bear witness, dude. The Qbert Gets Biz, unbelievable. I heard this on
Bear Witness,
KVRX.
fucking wow.
This came out in, when is this? 95. That aligns with my story.
Yes.
Thank God, my
Yeah.
memory's not. So 95.
Also bad memory.
I remember Les playing that, and I was like, next level.
Totally.
Qbert is literally an alien, to your point.
I love that too. Like again, like when I'm bringing up Scratch, and people probably know this, but Mixmaster Mike talks about this. Right? He's doing he's showing what he scratched. What is it? Robert Johnson, the old school Crossroads track, and he starts scratching it. And he goes into Dead Presidents, Bigger Than Hip Hop, and now like just losing my mind once I understood where that sample comes from. But he was talking about in that documentary that. Again, talking about how Invisible Scratch Pickles believed they were communicating with aliens through scratching. And he says he was scratching one day and he saw lights come down and like landed in the football field across from his apartment. It's like, I've been communicating to aliens because, you're doing this for hours, right? Like when you're in it, you're here just scratching and spinning for hours and hours and losing track of time. And he at that point was believing he was talking to aliens.
He was right before I moved here. And so 94. Anyways, I don't know how I ended up like in a car or like smoking weed or doing something, and I was talking to Mike, and I'm just like, oh my fucking God. And he literally said that, what you just said, like before, this was way before Scratch.
Yeah,
I'm talking,
yeah,
like,
Scratch
and he
came
was
out
like,
like in 99, 2000.
I was talking to him, and he's like, yeah, man, like I talked to aliens. And he was like dead fucking serious.
Yeah,
and
he's
I'm
dead
like,
fucking serious about it. Yeah. You're DJ middle school, you're learning how to scratch. What do you think was your moment where you're like, all right, I fucking got it, I'm doing this shit?
16 or
Love
17 maybe.
So you got that young fire. Like
yeah, but no, I wasn't. I was very like not sure of myself, and I got second place, and so I was like, holy shit, and that made me, I wouldn't say cocky, but it like,
you have an affirmation. You're like, you're affirmed on
when
like,
I came to Austin though, when I was 18 and I came here, I was definitely cocky.
Hell yeah.
Because I was in my second one and I had got second place to that, and Casanova. Shout out to Casanova, who's an old school Austin like institution DJ.
Yeah.
He did this mix of Run DMC, I never forget it, with Sade, Smooth Operator, and it was like the drums of Run DMC, and I was just like, okay, because I was just like scratching, and he did that, and the crowd was like, all right, Nick, you're fucking done. And I mean, I still remember that to this day. Like, shout out Cass, man, like he killed it. But when I came to Austin, I had that kind of like, to your point, maybe affirmation, but also ego a little bit.
Yeah,
and
you gotta have it. You have to.
I found the 10 Crack Commandments and did the whole radio thing, and then I remember watching. What the reason why is because I found out KVRX at the time was now they split frequency with a co-op. So co-op is 91.7 during the day.
Right.
KVRX is at like 10 p.m. They switch over. or whatever, 7 p.m. I don't know what time it is, but it used to be. I don't even know if co-op was even a thing, but KVRX had a cable.
Yeah.
A fucking cable, 95.
Were you there when Gibby Haynes was also DJing? Like Gibby Haynes from Butthole Surfers? I think he was doing that like maybe like 98 or whatever. But, continue because he was fucking crazy, like on crack and on the radio for like 5 hours straight.
So,
I think it was
man.
KVRX, yeah.
I remember going to the station, like I said, I found those records and I was like, yo, how do I get on? And they're like, well, first you got to pay your fucking dues and you got to do a bunch of volunteering and then you got to play at 5 a.m. on the cable station. I'm like, well, who hears that? They're like, it goes to pretty much only Jester. And I'm like, okay. It was cable radio, dude.
That's bananas.
It wasn't like cable TV. It was like you had to be. I mean, we literally had to know.
So you're like playing. You don't get visuals, but you're hearing the audio through the cable radio.
I don't even know how the fuck it works.
Wow,
man.
you're just doing it. You're like, I don't know how you're receiving it.
Something on the cable dial, and it was at like 5 a.m. on a Sunday.
Dope.
And I had my boy.
People are listening to it. They're waking. That's their
I don't
after party
know, dude.
situation. That is definitely they're up.
My thing is, I was recording everything that I did, and
Nice.
I was releasing mixtapes and doing that kind of shit. Because I was like, I don't give a fuck. I'm just making a name. And then 6 months of that, they were like, okay, we're gonna give you a shot, but it's the early slot. Sorry, I was doing like 4 p.m. with this dude. Damn, Wale, man. Like, was that his name? Fuck, I'm so bad with names. This MC that was dope as fuck it was him and I were doing a show on cable, and then I ended up doing a very, very Sunday morning on FM at like 5 a.m. And me and my boy from Plano, Brock, he would drive me. He lived in Castilian, which is a dorm like off of. And shout out to Jason Dozier, rest in peace, man. That's a whole nother thing. But I didn't even have my turntables with me. He let me borrow. He saw me scratch on the House of Fat Beats. They let me like do something, and he was like, yo, you can borrow my turntables to do your show. So me and Brock would go to his apartment, smoke one, grab his tables, and it was like 5 a.m. on Sunday. It was like after all the partying on Saturday, then we would go do the show. And no one listened, man. And then finally, the station was like, all right, we'll give you 10 p.m. on Saturday. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? This is amazing. So it like opened all these doors, man. Building relationships with like Domino at Hyro, like that was our first show. So me and Domino had the idea. I was like, yo, man, we got to bring Hyro out here, man, in 97. And he's like, dude, fucking hook it up. And I was like, man, I met this cat, David Crump. And I was like, yo, he used to throw shows in Boston. And he's like, man, well, first of all, shout out to Mad Gods, Chris Martin.
Oh my God, Mad Gods for sure.
And Julian.
Yeah.
So Chris, first of all, Chris Martin, love you, brother. Shout out to Chris Martin, Mad Gods. That was the sort of, I knew Chris from House of Fat Beats, and then Chris knew Julian, and David was Julian's camp counselor. It was like some weird thing like that. And then like we're all like hip-hop nerds, and Dave's like this East Coast dude that's like, yo, I know Guru, and I'm like, what the fuck? So me and Dave became fast friends, right?
Yeah.
Needless to say, this is when I got the 3.5 GPA and lived over here, right over here. And we were on the balcony smoking cigarettes and smoking weed and telling stories. And I'm like, yo, Dave, man, you used to do shows. I was like talking to Domino from Hyro, man. Like, he said we can get Hyro, man. And like, all we need is like 5 Gs, bro. And he's like, bet. He's like, let's see if we can get, he's like, who do you know in Houston? And I'm like, I know DJ C and the Mathematic DJs Comp 1 and Witness. I was like, all right, let's holler at them. So we formed this triumvirate of like Dallas, Austin, Houston. And then I reached out and we formed our thing, and that became HipHop Mecca. It was me and Dave. The first show was Hyro at Electric Lounge. Yo, we made so much fucking money.
Nice.
Like I'm talking, we paid Hyro probably like 10 to 15 grand.
Holy shit.
Dave and I made, it was $20 at the door. The fucking place was packed, man. Like I have photos of me sitting on the balcony with Dave. We thought we were so cool, man. We had all of our money spread out on this like plastic table.
How old are you at that point? Like
fucking 18, man.
I forgot to
Chain smoking
breathe.
cigarettes,
Dude,
like
sounds great.
We did Organized Confusion before they broke up. And actually the crazy story. So fucking Julian, man, and Chris. So after the show, they go, hey, after party at Nick Nack's place. And so I'm packing up my gear, and I thought he was joking, dude. Like, you know, when the club and everyone's like hanging out, like, I want to get an autograph.
Totally.
And I'm like, packing the shit up.
Right.
And fucking Julian's packing up the merch, and he's like, yo, party at Nick Nack's, which is like right over here. And I'm like, did you just fucking say my address, bro?
Oh, no.
I didn't think anyone heard it, right? But like, dude, and I go over, and there's like a fucking party in my house, in my apartment. And I'm like,
God.
yo.
Yeah.
And fucking Pharoah Monch is in there on my bed, yo, like talking to this girl. He has like a 40. He spills a 40 on my bed. I'm like, and yeah, it was crazy, man.
That's
but
fucking crazy.
I'm on the balcony. I'm like, yo, I gotta go. People, motherfuckers are smoking cigarettes, putting them out on my carpet. And I'm like, yo, this is my apartment, man. Come on. Someone's peeing in the corner. You know, it's like that.
This is house party, essentially.
Yo,
like, it's Kid and Play's house party,
my
essentially.
whole apartment was like this big, you know what I mean? With
Yeah,
a bedroom here, you know what I mean? It was tiny. And it had this balcony. And dude, it's right over here, Royal Crest, man. And so I'm out on the balcony smoking a joint and talking to Prince Poe from Organized Confusion.
Okay.
And me and X-Man, and he's like, I'm like, yo, he's like, man, why don't y'all have a label? And I'm like, I look at Xavier and I'm like, why the fuck don't we have a fucking label, man? Like, I got Crowd Control Records, but that's just like my shit. Like,
yeah.
So we formed Five Finger Records.
Okay.
And Bobby Dixon did the label, the artwork.
Yeah.
We pressed it in Houston at this place.
Shout out Bobby Dixon, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
We did T-shirts and everything.
Yeah.
Man. He did all the Asiatic, and he did a lot of printing for Chris and Mad Gods as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At their spot. So, at any rate, we got a record, dude. I did a record with Prince Poe.
That's insane.
I got it in here somewhere. But from that night. From that fucking night, dude, it was like, let's just do a record. He came down, and yo, we flew him down. This shit's hilarious. Him and this dude named Buku One, I don't know, it's like his hype man or whatever. Mm-hmm. And we go to Casanova.
Yeah.
DJ Casanova. I moved to a house up north, and I, of course, moved to where because I was like, this dude's the OG, I got to move near him. So I lived like Breaker Metric area, and behind the post office where Office Space was kind of filmed over there.
Oh yeah.
Which, by the way, was creepy because I lived that life. I was doing a job similar to that when that movie came out. I was like, what the? So we were over there, and Buku One. I never forget this shit, man. X-Man was with me. We go on Runberg Lane. There's a fucking Whataburger over there, and we go I had my mom's Volvo at the time. I didn't even have it, so I was driving that thing, and I go. And Prince is like, man, I want to, you know, it was like late night. He's like, I want a fucking cheeseburger. And I'm like, so we go the wrong fucking, I'm like, I got this, bro, but we got to go the wrong way on the access road.
Oh my God.
And to get to this, because I didn't want to drive all the way to 183.
Nick.
So I'm driving these dudes, I'm like, in this Volvo. And we go the wrong way. Shout out Xavier, he remembers this story. And we go to the drive-through, and
so you made it, thank God.
No, we made it. And we go through the drive-through, and fucking, the Whataburger is on Breaker, and it's on Breaker and 35 because I frequented that place, man.
Texas.
So we go through there, and dude, Buku One is in the back, and he goes, man, let me get that chicken, that honey biscuit chicken. Mm-hmm. And he's like, and he goes, what is that? He goes, what is that soup on there? And the guy goes, soup, and he goes, nah, that's gravy, man. He goes, gravy? Like, he's from New York. He's never even, and he's like, you get a thing of gravy? And I'm like, yeah, man, let's get some.
Yeah, we do a lot of things.
Gravy,
Yeah.
And we're driving in the hood. I mean, not really the hood, but like in that area, like the Runberg kind of. Mm-hmm. And he's like, yo, these houses are fucking mansions. And I'm like, this is like, okay, man.
So, you know, like in HipHop Mecca was the other thing, right? Like HipHop Hump Day.
Yeah, Bavu.
You know?
Man, Bavu was such a actually, you know what my first experience with Bavu was? There was this club called Catfish Station on 6th Street. And it was a fucking shithole, but we went in there because, I mean, Alcoholics was like one of my favorite groups. For sure. Absolutely. And so this is when their first album came out.
Yeah.
And I saw the flyer, and by the way, CBS crew,
Can't be stopped. God. Shout out fucking Blitz.
Dude.
Yeah.
There was a couple of spots, Alien Records and Blondie's, where you'd go and you'd see flyers for like hip hop shows. And dude, these flyers were fucking epic. They were like Xerox, but the artwork was like incredible.
That's what it was.
I saved all of them. I have every fucking single one. I have a box. Same with from back in the day. Anyways, so like I think me and my homeboy Brock, who I mentioned, did the radio show earlier, we rolled up there, and I'm sitting there, and Tash, the Alcoholics perform, and Tash is like, says some shit like, "Hey, does anybody?" I don't know what he was like, what the deal was, but he said something like, "Yo, does anybody want to fucking battle me?" Or he got some kind of cocky, and Bavu got on the mic and fucking murdered him. I had to meet this guy. I went up and I was like, "Yo, man, you're incredible. Let's do some work."
How did you meet Mel?
I think I met Mel actually. To be honest, I don't know where we first met, but he was my memory of him was a DJ in the scene, but also he worked at Waterloo Records. He was the hip hop buyer for Waterloo.
Cool.
And he has really good handwriting. I mean, like graffiti style. I just remember because he would buy and he would write these recommendations. When I came here in '95, like he was definitely, there wasn't that many DJs. Let me say it like that. There was a handful of DJs. So Casanova was definitely one of the top. The foundation DJs, so Snoopy, Snotty, X-Man, and Mel was also one. And I might be leaving out somebody, but those were kind of the key ones that stand out in my mind right now. And man, I mean, the dude like pretty much owned the back, like right when you walk in, which now I guess 24 Diner is on the other side, but like that wall that they share, he would like own that whole wall, which was probably like this wall, like maybe 10 to 15 feet. And he would just place records, and every single day he would like change stuff out, and he would handwrite like, you know, Latyrics. This is Latif and Lyrics Born, and you got to really check out, you know, this is, you know, DJ Shadow-esque and blah, blah, blah. And it would just be like this deep biography. And I'm like, who the F is writing this and has such good handwriting? And I ended up meeting him, and he is like flawless on the mix. And the thing I really didn't know until a little bit later is that he was prevalent in the house scene, right? 626 Soul and a lot of stuff he did. Oh
shit! I didn't know that either.
So the thing is about Mel is that like a lot of DJs, I mean, we become DJs because we're music nerds, like, and so like you with the grassroots, and you know we nerded out, and I mean like, so I mean that's what it is, and so like Mel is huge into new wave and like, I mean his knowledge is just, it's vast. I mean honestly I can't even like. It's funny because I always typecast him because I self-projected, I think, onto him because I was very one-track minded on hip-hop. And I remember even being like, we were talking about the battles and stuff like that. When I came to Austin, I remember being like, you know, house DJs, like, and like, kind of making fun of that. And like, they don't have skills and that's easy to mix. And man, I was so wrong, you know. There's so much skill that goes into music selection. That Mel is, to me, like that is like his probably number one gift, and then like equally up there is his ability technically, and don't like he's an amazing scratcher too. And beat juggler, like he's a DJ's DJ. I could listen to him. He used to play at Plush on Fridays, so I had. Baby G, I think, had Thursdays. He had Fridays, and I had Saturdays. Info and I used to go. Just Info and I. Two DJ turntablist nerds. We'd be scratching and then drive to Plush and listen. Just listen. And just be like, he was the first DJ to play low profile. On vinyl. And it like blew my mind. I was like, oh my God. And I told him that the other day. I was like,
oh my God, really? Oh, wow.
It'd be like if I was like, just play the grassroots. You know?
I would lose my mind.
That's what it was.
Yeah. So like the grassroots is, you know, this like specific underground hip hop group, and I love the song Precious Metals that they do, and I looked for the album to buy. It's now at mint condition, like, you know, very good on Discogs, $300. I think the lowest price for like not such great quality is it's out of print. So I came here. I mean, obviously looking at the vinyl collection. I have to talk about this in a moment. But I was like, I was like, yo, you got the grassroots? And he was like, I actually do. And we went through looking for it. He finally found it. And it was just, we played it. And I was like, I've never heard it played on vinyl. And to that, just like another quick story, right? There are a couple things you had said. I saw House Shoes a couple of years ago, and he played Kev Brown, Always, which I've never heard anybody play out. And I lost. And again, there's like 7 people in the club. all just hip hop nerds, right?
See, this is why. So, like the vibe that you're. Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
but,
no, please.
What you're talking about is what I want to do, and I'm not trying to selfishly promote my shit, but
No.
like playing with Chorizo at Dante's. This is what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like it's funny because I've heard people say, "Oh, I'm a member of Soho and I'm gonna go," and I'm like, "Yeah, well, like whatever."
Right.
I'm gonna play that set.
Yeah.
I'm gonna play the shit that you can't find on Spotify or whatever.
Right.
And the shit that like people know me for. I had a radio show on KBRX the radio show was called The B-Side. I always played the B-side, the shit that you didn't know necessarily. And it would be, that's why I have all of these records. And I know whenever you mentioned the Grassroots, I'm like, oh yeah, Conception Records.
Yeah.
Supreme, shout out Supreme, Jake One, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but I'm a massive nerd of the stuff that I feel like people should know that's really good that they don't know. And so I think that's what we have definitely in common.
Absolutely. You know? I was with Lorenzo, benzo the other day, and, you know, like, and obviously he's a great teacher, right? He was running Dub Academy for a minute. And even like when we were like in party mode or whatever, and I was like, I played him this techno mix that I made, and I was like, this is what, like, I was like, I want to do, like, I can't wait till I can finally play out, because I want to, like, my experience is like, you know, going to, you know, like raves and hearing DJs with their selection, but also the way they're able to tweak the EQ. Yeah. And at times they would like run the bass and like turn everything else down, and it would hit, like the bass was hit so hard it would like, right? But I was like, you know, I want to play these tracks that are like cerebral. And he's like, why do you want to do it? And I was like, I want to do it because I want to share this with somebody. I want to give them that experience where they're out and they like lose their minds over like the track, whether they know it or they don't. They're like, what is that? And like, that's like the whole thing, you know, like I talked about this with some other DJ. We were discussing like the difference between, and Anna Morgan and I talked about this too, is like the difference between being masturbatory and being like, this is me, this is what I like, and I'm doing it, but also being,
a lot of people think that's what scratching is, and that's why you do, when you're in front of an audience, have to kind of like watch the audience and see if they're responding. It's kind of like jazz too. If you're doing like a jazz solo and like a dance party, it isn't going to work, right? Right. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, you're doing this is
like
what
watch
we're here
the
for.
Audience, you know. What I mean?
Well, you know your audience, and like know what they're getting into and know how to rock them. We got party rockers, where it's like, you know, you want to share, and when we're thinking about like how hip hop's changed from the early 2000s through the snap rap era, through like the SoundCloud trap era, and where it's at right now, where it's like you know, you have the studio rappers, but then you also have like this punk SoundCloud rappers. You know, we've lost, and I'm not complaining. You know, it's just how evolution of anything goes. People who were coming up past us, they didn't really understand what that is. And I've talked to like younger people, and they're like, well, I don't really get it. I was like, it's the talent that you're looking at, and you have to appreciate what it takes to get there. When people say that a DJ is like, oh, well, I just push play, it's not that. You got to know your track selection. You have to know your track inside and out. You have to know like how to mix it. You have to know like how to also play that volume. Not everything's mixed the same. I can't run everything at 12 o'clock. Right. You know, like I have to make sure like that I'm understanding like when this track's gonna come in louder than the other one that I'm bringing in.
But see, I think that what's interesting about your saying, so first of all,
I'm done. Continue. Good in there.
First of all, plus 1,000. I mean, to me, but I think what starts that acknowledgement or that interest in that is the love of music.
100%.
And I think, and it's always been there, people that are into music for not the love of music, but for the money or for some other thing, fame, whatever. And those people are fleeting. They're gone. Right. But, and this is what I realized much later in my life, is that, you know, for house music, it's the same. For drum and bass, jungle, techno, whatever, there is a passion for music, and it touches us all. And when that happens, there's a certain point when you become somewhat obsessed at like, well, it matters how you mix. It matters how long you mix. It matters, can you be technical? And it's not only like scratching and stuff, but how do you know, drop the bass or do like, you know, little things. It also matters like what songs you play next to each other. Do you do like, are you playing like two J Dilla beats? Are you playing like wordplay off of like this into that?
Wordplay.
You know, and so like it's stuff like that the more you get into this rabbit hole, so to speak. You like we were talking about Alice in Wonderland, right? The more you go into the tree and start chasing the rabbit, the more you're like, there's an entire world here, and those are the people that I want to communicate with, because like
it is a language.
That's it. And so like, you know, I feel like I can appreciate that now, no matter what the genre is, no matter what, even if it's not even DJing, if it's just like I'm going to check out, you know, we were talking about, you know, Bobby playing drums, and you know, and like if someone's into that, and that communication between the band members is a whole other thing, because I was in a jazz band on that note.
Oh,
and
shit.
So, you know, that's a whole other evolution of my, as a DJ, as a turntablist, as a percussive instrument. And so like, you know, to me, it's sorry, I'm being very long-winded, but the expression of the music, I think you get kind of to a certain point and you're like, I want to communicate on a deeper level.
Yeah.
And then you use those modes of communication of like tweaking the EQ, or like the drummer, you know what I mean, doing like ghost notes with for the bass player, and the bass player being like, oh shit,
I think it
like,
evolves
what the fuck?
brain.
You know what I mean?
You know, like even if you're somebody who's not into it, like, you know, I've watched people come in and like hear a track that they're familiar with maybe, but it's a pop remix or a pop edit.
Right.
And then they're like, I watched them to be like, I've never heard it like this. I didn't know it could be this.
Right.
And, you know, Chorizo and I talked about this, you know, last week, is like when I was watching him at Coconut Club, and I'll see people come in who aren't within the music culture. They just want to go and party. Right. And I'll watch them come in and shift, because they come in all like big nuts, and they're like, I make lots of money. Like, I'm just here, like in my, you know, whatever. And then they look and they realize the crowd doesn't give a fuck about like their status. Right. They're here to get down, communicate, and it is a tribal community situation. And then they're like, fuck, I'm not in that. And then I watch them understand what a subculture is. Yep. You know, and then like I've seen some people be scared of that. Like just people I've known personally not really understanding why it's important. I've watched people challenge me to think that I was doing it only to be cool, and then breaking down like what it means to have this culture. Because even so, like I was at a tunnel party that Growth and Decay did. Like in 2018.
Yo, I got one of his hoodies, man. Sober,
so cool.
Sober. I
oh
mean,
shit, yeah. DJ Sober,
Sober gave. He's like, yo, he DJ'd at Lolo Wine with that cat, and was like, yo, this cat's dope.
He's so cool.
And we went with Esme.
Yeah.
Vanya. We sat there at Lolo drinking wine, listening. And we're like, damn, this cat. I got this. I should have worn the sweatshirt. Man. I got the hoodie with the bricks and the growth.
Dude, shout out James Harco. You know, like he really was part of bringing this back in. I think Virgil. What was the dude that he did Off-White? What's his last name? He passed away recently. He was at that tunnel party, and he did an entire radio set honoring Texas music because he was blown away by this party. And it was like, you know, I tried to bring this one guy in here who was like a sales rep at a tech thing, and I was like, I need you to see what this is. You've never seen it. You're not ever going to see that, because that's not where you flow, but you need to understand what it means to people to like have that. And I was there, I was like, you know, like in my like 38 at the time, and there was these young cats from Fort Worth, a car crew, skateboarders that came down, and they were house dancing. I was the only house dancer there until I saw them, and they were like 17, 18, and I was house dancing in a cypher with them, and I was like, yo, first of all, how old are you? They're like 17, 18. I was like, okay, how do you know about house music? And they're like, well, we were watching skate videos, and they were, you know, when we were watching skate videos back in the day, it was like other music, and now there's like skate videos where they have deep house, ghetto house like behind it, and they were like, well, we want to know this. They heard about the party. They came down from Dallas to come to the party and see it. And like, this is what spurns off the ideas. This is what 100%. Spurns off culture. 100%. This is what spurns off like we need that subculture. When I'm at, you know, I don't want to talk about a Burning Man asshole, but you know, I've been to the big one.
No, it's the same thing.
But it is, you know, like thing. when I step into these things,
judgment, man.
And I'm seeing 100%. Like, you know, I remember being like on 2 Hits of Acid at like a flip side, and like walking around and like seeing these geniuses who build these amazing art projects. I love art cars. There was a guy in a UFO art car, so it's like a golf cart. He cuts off the top. He puts a silver UFO around it with like pink lights, and he's driving the art car around. And we're fucked up. But the whole thing is you have to take care of yourself. You have to know your shit to be there. Yeah. But I'm like, oh, there's some people that are so intelligent in a specific way that it can't be honored in mainstream anything.
100%.
And while we're doing that, I think that there was like, you know, it was between we're going into election season before, like either right after Trump won or whatever, and there's so much happening, and I was like, oh, y'all are playing your game out there. we're playing our game here, holding it close to home and like taking care of the corner of your world. Like that truly is where you build up that strength and community and build that thought.
Yeah.
And so, you know, like going into just thinking about how we continue to cultivate throughout these years, you know, like what we can do to make sure that it's not lost. It's the communication, right? It's Dead Sea Scrolls in a way.
Dude, you are, wow, that's like, that's such a deep series of thoughts right there. And it kind of goes to what we were talking about outside. You know, KVRX for me was that early on. Exploded Drawing, the beat scene.
Totally.
Was that for me. And you know, Burning Man, is that for a lot of people? It is for me. I've never been, but like, I mean, I can totally appreciate that. You know what I mean? And there was a series of house parties when I was in high school with the same people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was that, and it's basically that local community where you have that shared mindset and appreciation, and you speak a language, to your point, where there's just this like innate understanding, and not a lot of words are spoken. Yeah. There's just like this vibe of like, I know you. Yes. Your family, it's a familial vibe of like, you're my sister, you're my brother, and like we understand, and I can be safe. It's a safe. Here's the thing, it's a safe space, and that's what creativity, and creativity needs that to flourish. But I also think, like, being healthy and just being a human, you need that safe space.
It's the human condition, right? Like I believe that dance and music came before language. I don't know. I wasn't there. Maybe I was. I don't know.
I'm sure you're right.
But like, you know, like that's like, you know, even when you look at children, they learn to dance before they can learn to speak.
You know what's funny is my daughter, like I don't know how to dance really, but I'm so goofy with her, and I'm just very open. Yeah. And we play records and dance here, and like, I mean, I'll do like kid and play moves and like the you know, the jump over the thing. And, all the goofy stuff, but the thing is that I you know, I'm just having fun. Totally. But I watch her and I see like what it does to her. It makes her come outside when we're hanging outside. Yeah. She's like, hey, what are y'all doing? Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like this it's that familial thing. Yeah. It's like, she's like, I feel safe. I can be this here. It's the safe thing. I'm not closed off. I'm not There's guarded. No judgment. You can be goofy. Daddy's goofy. He farted. He fell on the ground. You know what I mean? Whatever. And like, it's fun. You know, it's like with anything technical is like, you have to just let go. Yeah. You're never like, especially in like a DJ battle or in a scenario with a lot of people, you have to, like the concept that you're kind of pointing out, that these societal constructed, like, you got to look like this. It's like, it's all bullshit, man. Right. It's all in really your values and what you hold to be true, and preserving that and holding it sacred, and going with it, no matter what people are saying. And it's like all the things we're talking about are the things that really matter in life. It doesn't fucking matter how you look. Or how much money you make, or any of that bullshit. Yeah. What matters is like all of the stuff that we're talking about: community, family, love for music, love for expression, being strong, creativity. To be independent, and like absolutely. And you're creating by doing that, and by doing yourself and being who you are to the fullest. Inspire somebody else to do the same. 100%. And who knows what we're going to get from that person. You know, just like we were talking about earlier, like I saw this person. There's the Freshest Kids, which is a really great documentary about b-boys. And I remember like some like the Rocksteady crew, like one member from there, he was like, if you see me to this day and I wear my hat a specific way, it's because I'm honoring b-boy Spy, who I saw when I was growing up, who he saw when he was growing up, and he would wear his hat a certain way. And you're like, I still carry that in certain things I do. I'm like, well, I saw this thing that I like someone do, and I'm going to put my own flavor on it. Yeah. But I'm honoring that. I've been thinking about De La, who I left the record out somewhere around here. You know, rest in peace, Dave, man. Like, and he always used to rock his hat to the side, man. And that to me is, and speaking, like, I got to talk for a second about De La, man, because to me, I was talking to Russell from Chaotix, who's a legendary producer, Houston, Texas. Chaotix is incredible hip hop group. One of my best friends. We were talking about about Dave and his impact. And the interesting thing about De La, just like all it was pure, unadulterated, fucking creative.
And just going to vinyl, because we're almost out of time. When I first saw your vinyl collection, it was on the internet. I think it was maybe Instagram stories.
Okay.
You were moving from one house to another. And my thing was, like, I just bought a house, and I only had, like, a selection of vinyl this way, because I was like, I saw you hauling all of your vinyl. And I was like, yo, to, like, have to carry this vinyl.
So I paid
no
someone.
way.
This is actually a cool story. I paid someone.
Yeah.
And we moved most of the stuff on our own, except for this, because of that.
It's so heavy.
And I got about 10,000 records, and actually I have about another 1,000 under the stairs and up in my studio that I still don't have up here. And all of these are pulled out because I'm doing that gig. But
Yeah.
But Thurman was the only cat that I would trust, and he did an impeccable job. He moved them all. Mel, it's funny because I talk to Mel often, and we were talking about this outside. So he's been trying to sell me. I'm not really selling, that's not the right word, but he's deep into like keeping records clean. And I'm like, what do you got, man? And he's like, I got this degritter. It's called the degritter. And it's got this ultrasonic cleaning, and it's expensive as
Holy
shit. But he's like, he swears by it. So I'm like, man, I might need to do it. Cause I'm looking at my records and I got like, I'm licking them and scratching them. There's always fingerprints, and I played, and there's like this yellow dust. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Is this like weed smoke
I
from
don't
back
even
in the
have
day,
the
or what
little
is
link
this?
collector, and like Bobby has when we were playing Bobby's records last weekend, and like I
Oh, the
pulled
little
one out.
the felt thing.
Yeah, and I was like,
I mean, I got that with the
before.
spray, but
I hadn't used it before, and I was just even like, am I doing this right? Like holding it down between the records.
That's like the basics. Mel is, and like, you know, we were talking
ultrasonic fucking.
Yo, that's like the water. You gotta have like shit. I can't even think of the word, man. But the water that's
some sort of solution, like
am I
a saline
talking about?
solution or something.
Anyways.
Like alkaline water or something.
Not that, but just like whatever. Yes, or something like, I don't know. Anyways, you gotta have some you can't just go get some water. You gotta have the special water.
Right. Especially not Texas water. That shit. You can't use Texas water, dude. Nah, this shit's hard water.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like a whole thing, but
that's
what
phenomenal.
I asked him. This is what I asked Mel. I said, hey man, so you know, I'm obviously a DJ, so all my records have stickers marked for beat juggling.
Yeah.
So if I put that thing in there, is it gonna like wash the sticker off?
Yeah.
Because I don't want it to. And he's like, it's gonna get a little wet. And I'm like, God damn it, man.
Yeah.
So I guess it's optimal, because I was asking him if you could like shrink the grooves.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like that it washes, because like maybe a label's bigger or something. And he's like, nah, it just does like that much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It has a bath of water like that deep, and it just fucking spins it in that water. And I'm like, earlier I ordered Group Home Superstar doubles off of Discogs.
Love Group Home.
By the way, I mean literally this week or last week, and I've successfully avoided it.
It's a lot.
For obvious reasons until just now. And now I've already spent more money than I'm going to make at the gig in fucking 1.5 weeks. And, you know, got this scratched record. But the interesting thing is, the dude that I'm buying it from, he goes, I got doubles if you need them. And I'm thinking, and I look at his name and it's like DJ, and I'm like, of course you got fucking doubles.
Yeah.
So I get the record and it has his markings.
Oh,
and so I get to see how another DJ, and of course I got a crazy story.
Yes.
Well, let me finish this one.
Okay.
So I see how another DJ marks the records, and so that was interesting. I'll get to that in a second, but DJ DMD, Southern legend, 25 lighters on my dresser, yes sir.
Oh, okay. Wow, I didn't realize. Okay.
I got like a bunch of records from him, man, at the last record convention. I was digging, and I come across this Houston dealer.
Fuck.
And
I'm gonna cry.
Yo, I see this stamp that says DMD, and I'm like, stop. What? And matter of fact, hold on, let me see if I can find one here. I think they're sitting like right here, a few of them.
Dude.
A few of them, and so like there's this classic song called hold on, let me just grab these because I think these might be there's this classic song, Puerto Rico.
Yeah. Oh, Puerto Rico. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And oh shit, here's 7 Minutes of Funk. Terminator X. I think these are all his, but oh shit, right here we go, right here. DJ DMD. Here's King Just. Shit. DJ DMD. Look at that. And I'm
gonna touch it. Can I touch it really quick?
Yeah, man.
Fuck, dude.
Yo,
what?
I got a Wu-Tang joint from him. Oh shit, here's Alcoholics Make Room, DJ DMD.
This is bananas.
Look at these. All this is DMD right
This
here,
is like
man.
straight up history. Like fucking.
Let me find that
DJ
Puerto Rico
Screw's
joint,
blunt
man.
Smoke is on these. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, man.
That's fucking
This is
crazy.
his right here. That's his handwriting.
Fucking.
Tim Dog, fuck Compton. This is like a New York
take
fucking.
Some photo. We need to take some video that would
AMG Jiggable Pie.
Fucking crazy.
Check this. Oh, this is this the Puerto Rico joint? And this is Mega Bonton. Hold on. Where is this? Wait, hold on. This is it. Yeah, this is it. This is the Puerto Rico.
Oh, Hoodie Records.
Yeah.
Fuck. Okay.
That's it.
This is what it is, right? Like it was like we're this is what it is to be a fucking nerd. Like you're like,
no, when I found out this was his collection, I was like, I'm just gonna buy fucking all of these records. And this is only a small amount. I literally bought like.
How did you haul that out?
Shit, man. I just walked.
You're like Vanya,
I don't know,
you gotta
multiple
fucking,
trips,
you know, like,
you know what I mean? Like,
gotta
that's
do the
not
thing.
a problem. I don't give a shit, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when I heard that, I was like, you know what's funny is, do you know Sid Corrupt, DJ Corrupt?
Yeah.
This is a funny story. So he DJs at Soho House.
Okay.
And so I guess his mom threw away his records or some shit, which is like a crazy story. He calls me up and he's like, hey man, fuck. And I said, yo, I'm at the convention and my man, he fucking bought DMD's collection. I just bought like most of it, but I'll tell him to hold some shit. And like I passed the info and like he was buying a bunch of shit too, man.
That's
like,
so sweet.
It's like, yo.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I mean, a lot of my collection is, shout out to Carlos Garza, who by the way, introduced DJ Premier to Guru and made Gangstar from Houston. Shout out to him. A lot of my collection down here is from Carlos Garza.
Jesus
DJ Styles,
Christ.
man. If you listen to the Odd Squad, there's Devin on a lot of takes. He'll be like,
of course.
"Yo, Carlos, quit sucking my dick."
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Like that dude is a monster on the records, man. So the Awesome Record Convention.
Yeah.
We go there. And like, if you got to the Awesome Record Convention on a Saturday, nah, man, you're not getting shit.
You're not getting shit. You gotta go.
Carlos would be like, yo, I'm on Thursday. I'm up here on 290 with the blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And the Japanese are already here. And I'm like, what? Fuck, man. I'd show up with the fucking Yukon.
The Japanese are there. Like, you're like, dude,
fucking hell, man. I'd be hitting the ATM like, yo, how much money do I need,
right.
man?
They're in it.
I've spent so much money on
What was the
records,
story you were
bro.
going to tell me? Like when you were like, hey, the record, and you were like, hold on, there's another story about that. It was like buying the records, getting the albums, and you were, fuck, I forgot.
I don't know.
But you know, fuck. We're running out of time. Is there anything you want? I know. I can
These
do this.
people, they're like,
I can
let's
do this for
fucking
another
wind
3
this
hours.
down.
Like I can do it for another 3 hours. This is phenomenal. And like, you know, just like again, 20 years in the making of me finally like knowing you and now sitting here with you is phenomenal. And you know, when we're thinking about Austin and where we've come from, we're talking about the history. What are your hopes for Austin in the future?
The thing that I hope for Austin or any other city is that there are those things that we've been talking about, like the exploded drawings, the KVRXs, the house parties, the places where because look, in this remote first post-COVID world where you're working from home, like, I mean, I work from home, it's great, you know what I mean? It's efficient, it's like fucking cool, I can hop on Zoom or whatever. But what you miss is this, you miss this human connection. Right. And that's what the fuck really got us into this shit.
Exactly.
So I hope and wish for that in Austin and any other city, right? Like, I don't give a fuck where it is, but I want that to be, because to me, that's where the meaningful connections. It's you seeing the dudes from Fort Worth and going, hey man, what's that? And then going, I drove 4 hours to do this house dancing. And it's like me going to Exploded Drawing and seeing Boom Baptist and going, who the fuck are you? You know what I mean? And us nerding out. And that is ultimate community, is what I hope, you know?
Yeah. That, and I'm gonna cry. Like, okay, like I just fucking, this is phenomenal, dude. Yeah.
I love y'all,
Thank you so much. I love you.
Yes,
I love you so much. So thank you for doing this with us.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye.